Today, we are here to talk about breath work and the nutrition of respiration. There's lots of ways that we can support our body through breath work. There's so many benefits to having that practice in place. I think that breath work is something that we all naturally do, but when you really zero in, you become conscious about your breathing and about the functions of your breathing, then you're able to tap into really some energy and some calmness and some ways of being centered that maybe were not available to you before. And I'm really excited about the connection between nutrition and what we feed our body and how that affects our respiration and lots of the conditions that are associated with the respiratory system. So I have a couple friends here today. I know that we all share in a breathwork practice. And so we're going to go around and kind of introduce ourselves, but also first off, speak to what was the impetus behind us starting breathwork? What caused us to really focus on that and, get us engaged and what effect that had. So I'm Barbara, and I started doing breath work because I knew that I was going to have a baby. And I had obviously been breathing my whole life, as we all do. You get frustrated and you sigh, or you have these different ways of regulating your breath, or when you exercise. I'm a lifelong dancer. And so I obviously did a lot of active breathing. And so, but really, I didn't think about the function of it until I was like, okay, there's something to breathing and birthing a baby. And so I just started really thinking about it and doing it more and found that calm. And I found that ability to settle down my nervous system. I have kind of an anxious tendency that I don't show outwardly, but I tend to kind of hold it inside. And when I start to feel pent up, it's just such an awesome way to regulate the nervous system and regulate the breathing. We'll get a little bit more into the science of breathing and the nutrition of breathing, but that was my inspiration. I knew it was fundamental in birthing a child. So I kind of dove in and found it to be super soothing. Mallory, what was your first inspiration for doing breath work, and what made you want to dive in?
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Barbara. I'm Mallory. And when I first started getting into breath work, it was because I started going to these Kundalini yoga classes and started learning about all these different breath techniques and different ways that different breaths affect you. Some are really activating, some are really calming, some are really cooling, some help with the sympathetic nervous system, some help with burning karma, some help with getting rid of unknown unconscious feelings or conscious feelings in wherever we might be holding something in our body that we're aware of or not aware of. And so Kundalini yoga is what kind of got me into it. And I have, just the other day, I was practicing some breathing, and a thought came to my mind that was, I really appreciate Kundalini yoga and what I've learned from it and the breath work that it's taught me. And also, I want to let myself breathe how it feels natural to me. And I appreciate the structure, but I feel like kind of exploring a little bit more with how I feel. But I also really appreciate the technology that Kundalini yoga is. And so that's really what got me started and got me feeling more like understanding that, like, wow, like the breath can really take me places that can clear my mind. And really the effect that it has on my mind is one of the main motivations that I have to use it, especially now because there's so many wild things happening on the planet right now, and it's really, really important to not get pulled away by it and to remember what's true. And the breath, like, is our connection and helps us. It makes us remember the truth, and to be able to have clarity is such a special thing.
Absolutely. I love like everything that you just said. I love that you we're talking about holding, I teach a movement as medicine class, and I always open up with a good like 20, 25 minutes of just breathing techniques and exercises. And the mainstay of that is that when my mother was not well and I was doing the single mom thing, I had a lot of stressors in my life. And I would sit down for 45 minutes every day and I would do the breathing techniques that are actually in the beginning of the Be Here Now book, the Ram Dass book. I was like, okay, well, this is a good place for me to just focus right now. I like got kind of overwhelmed. Like, how do I structure my practice of like staying centered through what I'm going through? And I found a way to every day clear and release the stress that I was holding in my body. And I feel like as humans, that is innate. Like you were saying, like we all have a natural state of breathing, and our body has like a nervous system component that actually I was just learning about. This one guy, he taught rats how to meditate so that he could study the effect that breathing techniques have on the brain, and to try to figure out where in the brain it originates. And it originates in a neuronal complex called the Buttsinger complex. And so it controls the rhythm of your breathing. And I feel like we do have a natural sense of that. Like when you're with children, like children don't think about how they're breathing, they just naturally breathe. And when they want to relax, they just like relax and their breathing slows. And it's all very natural. And I feel like the overstimulation of the world that we live in and the fast pace of media, like when you're on the computer, you're on social media, we need to give ourselves breaks because it does affect our breathing. And starting with the breath is what guided me into my nutrition practice. And releasing that trauma through breathing is what gave me the mental clarity to see that I needed something more. You know, you can breathe and meditate all day and do yoga 5 days a week, but if your body is toxic and if your your nervous system is overstimulated, you've got to come up with some other ways. You know, there are other ways. And that's the other thing that we're here to talk about today. But I'd love to get to Gina next because I know she is a practitioner. She does so many amazing things with women as a doula, and she's also a shaman in so many different ways. She guides us through visualizations and meditations and breathing when we come together in our circles sometimes. So I'm excited to see, what was your impetus for starting your breathwork practice?
Yes, thank you so much, Barbara. I'm Gina. I'm so happy to be here with all of you. And it's been a journey for me. I began my practice in 2011. I discovered yoga, and it was particularly hot yoga. I was Bikram and then Vinyasa. And that's whenever I realized how powerful the breath truly is. And I was walking through my life completely unconscious. I had experienced a lot of trauma. I was painfully shy. I had so much fear. I couldn't even speak in public. I was, really closed off. And I decided to go through the yoga training program to become a teacher. And I got to read the book, the Science of the Breath. And that book just blew my mind because we're not taught this as children, right? Like this should be taught in schools. Our children should be learning how to breathe consciously, how to calm their nervous system, how to regulate their emotions. And I was able to learn that when I was 19 years old, and it completely changed and transformed my life, that with my yoga practice. But I really pranayama breath is part of yoga. It's one of the 8 limbs of yoga. And I really dove into it and began practicing all of the different breathing techniques. And it really helped me to eliminate my fear of speaking in public. I was able to get up in front of a classroom and teach a yoga class. I was able to articulate my words. I was able to speak to people with confidence. I mean, it really transformed me on that level, but then it also taught me how to heal my unresolved trauma, because when you get into a breathwork practice, you start to change the brain waves. We may be in these really dysregulated brain waves, then you can go into alpha, and then you can go into theta, and you can start to reprogram your brain and your mind, and it really works on the subconscious mind, your unconscious thoughts. And I was able to go in and really heal some of my darkest thoughts and traumas, and it's been a journey. I'm still working through that. And then I was able to step into my doula work as a birth worker and supporting women. And the breath, like you said, Barbara, oh my gosh, it's key when you are in labor and you are giving birth. That is one of the main components I focus on for women, is to learn how to put yourself into a hypnosis state. And that's what I teach the mamas I work with. And it's all through your breath. It's all through visualization. And I was able to have a blissful orgasmic birth experience. And I really contribute that to my awareness around my breathing, being able to be conscious of the breath and to be able to breathe my baby down and out of my body. I didn't push my baby out. It wasn't like it was just like you send the energy down, and my baby just slid out of my body. And I believe it's because of all of my years of practicing breath work, practicing the visualization, and really just learning how to have control over my body, my breath, because I didn't realize it's involuntary and it's voluntary. And growing up, we breathe. It's something that we do, but we're never truly conscious of breathing in and expanding your diaphragm and your belly, and then breathing out and releasing the tension and the carbon dioxide. I mean, it's amazing. And and I'm still on the journey, and I'm so fascinated with all of the different modalities and breathing techniques out there. But that's how I got started.
Yeah. Oh, I love everything you said. And yeah, for sure. When it comes to healing those pathways in the body, reconnecting the pathways in the body that allow you, I don't want to say to like there is a degree of control that you're having, but for me, it almost feels like being able to control your fight or flight mechanism. Like you said, when you're in a birthing process, this is why people do ice baths, or people do like an hour of laying still. It's like your body wants to go, your body wants to do, your body wants to make it happen, your body wants to jump. And it's that fight or flight of like, oh, I'm sitting here. It's anxiety is what it really feels like to me. It's like feeling like you have to always be doing something, where really, if you just release and relax. One of the things that Stanford medicine doctor was talking about is that, when we inhale is when we actually contract. And when we exhale is when we release. And it's that release that people have a lot of trouble with. A lot of people do really short breath because they just want to contract again. It's the impetus to go, go, go. And so through that relaxation and relaxing, but you do have to discipline the mind in order to be able to relax when you've been living in a state of stress or fight or flight mechanism. So that releasing and that letting go. And when you do find those pathways in your body again, and you open up those nervous pathways to the calming, it not only shows up within, right? But as without, so within, it shows up in the way that you engage with the world outside of you. And I think that for me, having that ability again through my breath work to be able to connect to others in a more authentic way, in a way that's more in the moment, kind of that be here now of making choices about what you're going to say and how you're going to say it, not only to other people, but to yourself. What are you going to eat? What are you not going to eat? Are you going to run to the bar when you get off work? Are you going to go home and breathe for a minute and think about what you really want to do, what's good for you? All those little things, all those little engagements and choices that you make throughout the day become super pivotal. And when you can breathe and you can engage with the breath of life around you as well, there's just something that opens up there, and there's windows and there's doors that just manifest that maybe you didn't recognize before because you were like just trying to contract repetitively, you know? So yes, I love that, what you said. And I really want to get into ice baths, but that's a different topic. So yeah, I was going to go around also. Hi, Cindy, welcome in. This is my friend Cindy, you guys, she's in Austin, Texas now. She was in Denver for a while. So yeah, we're just talking about breath work, Cindy, and we were just about to go around and talk about any breath work practice that we find ourselves returning to. And for me, it's the three aspects of the breath techniques in the Be Here Now book, which, I mean, I've taken like a ton of yoga classes and done a ton of things, but just 3 deep cleansing breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth in a comfortable seated position. And then I do the nostril breathing back and forth. And I've actually started doing it as well on the other side because I feel like it kind of reverses that. I've never been taught that, but I just kind of started practicing that because I feel like it, I don't know, just having both sides has done something for me. And then I have a whole series of breath work where I work through each chakra system up and down the spine. And I do some kind of like nerve flossing with my arms, and I use some hand techniques to really pull the nerves out and use my breath. So those are all kind of some things that I know are ancient practices, because all the hand positions and the mudras and everything, I mean, those are ancient. We've been seeing them forever. But I did like decide to just sit with myself in my own body and try to work. Like if I have a knot here or a knot there, like what can I do to like engage with the breath, like as I'm moving through my arms, to like hit those specific spots where I feel like I'm holding, whether it's in my neck, the top of my shoulders. I get stuff in my middle back, like right where the back of the ribs kind of connects with that lumbar curve. That's a spot for me where the back, those major big back muscles, the quadratus lumborum, they attach to the back of the ribs. And so that spot for me, like learning to like unkink it, but really use my breath and the motion of my rib cage to do it. Just one more thing to add, the diaphragm from an evolutionary perspective, when the body is forming in vitro, there are several organs and parts of the body that actually form out of the diaphragm. So the motion and the function of the diaphragm is pivotal in the function of all of those cellular organs that developed genetically, like through your genome, like out of the diaphragm. And this is why breathing is so pivotal in regulating the function of all those other organs. And so when I do all these breathing techniques, I really just try to imagine the function and how the movement of the diaphragm connects to the lungs, and then how the lungs are pulling in the oxygen, and how that oxygen is flooding my bloodstream, and how that flooding of oxygen into the bloodstream is allowing me to release toxins out through my breath. So that visualization of inhaling clean, fresh oxygen and exhaling anything toxic out of the body, which is the same practice that I consider when I'm drinking these alkalizing foods and taking these really clean, pure foods into the body, knowing that it's going to eliminate as well toxins from the body. So that is kind of how my breathing practice and my nutrition start to swim together. Okay, Mallory, I would love for you to share. What's your favorite breath work practice?
Yeah, I just love talking about breath, because just when I see a reel online of someone taking a deep breath, it like gets me to take a deep breath, and talking about it, I just love it. So thank you for this call. So some different breaths that come to mind for me, that I want to share. So there's one, just breathing in and out through your nose. And I can't remember what the name of the breath is. So if anyone knows, put it in the comments or just say it out loud. So with your throat, you want to kind of make this, like pretend like you're trying to fog up a window, like like that. So that
Ujjayi,
kind of
Ujjayi
that's
breath.
happening. What is it?
Ujjayi breath.
Oh yeah, ujjayi. Okay, so you just breathe in through your nose, slow in and slow out, just like this. I love that one so much. It's just really calming. It's really nice to do when I'm around a lot of people in a really big crowd. It really just helps me to stay really centered in my heart and in a clear mind. And then another one that I really like is cannon breath. And this is really good because you were talking about how, when we inhale, we contract, and we exhale, we relax. And this really helps with that. So that one looks like this. You breathe in through your nose and then you kind of do this with your cheeks. You go. It's like you just make your, like, fill your cheeks up with air and just like blow out. And it's just like, just like relieves a lot of stress. Like if I'm ever frustrated or overwhelmed or feel like I have tension building up in my body. And then there's one more that I really like that is really special. It's a cooling breath. It's called Satali. I think it's Satali pranayama. And this one is a little bit more, oh sorry, is a little bit more maybe advanced, or it's a one that I had never even thought about doing. So this one, you roll your tongue like this, and then you breathe in through the rolled tongue and out through your nose.
And that one is like a cooling breath from
Yeah,
what I
this one's
understand.
really cooling. It's really good for your parasympathetic nervous system, which I love anything. I mean, I feel like breathing in general is really good for your nervous system, but this one, even if you do it for 3 minutes, it completely shifts your mindset. And that's what I love too about breath. It's like, it's so powerful that you can literally just do like 3 minutes a day and like totally reset your day. And like, if 3 minutes seems like a lot, it really helps to put on a mantra or some kind of relaxing music that you like. And it's sometimes surprising how much longer you can go than you thought you could when you have some music or something to kind of help you to stay in it. So those are some of my main ones that
They're great
I like.
examples. I love all of those too. Yeah, the one with the tongue, when I
Yeah,
found
that one
doing
is
it.
that one's also good for I learned like some things about it from my Kundalini yoga teacher. That one's really good for clearing subconscious, unconscious things that are going on that, like, I don't always like to know the details. Sometimes I don't need to know the details of my subconscious. I'm just gonna sit and like, I'll take out some of the trash today. I don't need to dissect it. It's like kind of good for that.
Love it. Thank you, Mallory. How about you, Gina? What's one of your favorite go-tos, some of your favorites that you turn to?
Yeah, I wanted to share, Mallory, that I do the Satali is the one that I teach the mamas in labor, because sometimes you get really hot and it's such an amazing cooling breath for mamas. But gosh, I love all the breaths, but I also did a lot of Kundalini yoga, and I'm a big fan of the breath of fire, really to like and energize the body and the detoxifying aspect of that. But the breath that I am really called to in the last couple of years that I just continuously go back to is the brain and heart coherence technique, and also like Joe Dispenza's breath techniques. And the brain and heart coherence one is probably one of the most profound ones for me, because it's so simple. You just simply bring your awareness to your heart, and you just breathe into your heart center, and you start to cultivate feelings of gratitude and unconditional love. And you think about all of the people in your life that you deeply, deeply love, and admire. And here, this is helping to, bring harmony between your heart and your brain. And that one is something that I just do, on a regular basis, even when I'm driving, or when I'm feeling stressed, or I'm feeling challenged in some way. I go to that brain and heart coherence, because a lot of times, right, we're in our thinking mind, our monkey brain, and we may be very reactive. And this allows you to drop into the heart, just like Barb was saying about, how some of the organs come from the diaphragm. Like, our heart was actually develops before our brain. And so it's also known as a second brain, just like our gut is as well. But it's really powerful to breathe into the heart center. And then the other thing that I've learned from Joe Dispenza is to draw the energy up. So a lot of us may carry our thoughts and our emotions and our lower chakras, those lower energies. And so to draw that energy up into the brain, into those higher chakras, and then to really take your mind out of your body and become the observer. And it really allows you to, work through those traumas, work through those challenges and the stress that you're going through in your life. So it's a really beautiful practice of, engaging those energy locks, those bandhas, and then drawing the energy up to the brain. And it also releases DMT when we do that. And that is one of, we release DMT when we die, and also when we're giving birth. And it's a really powerful psychedelic experience that you can go into without taking any psychedelics or plant medicine. You begin to have these visions, and you can start to really create from that place, because instead of, being in those lower energies of fear and doubt and worry and stress and pain, you go into these higher states of consciousness. And then from that place, you become magnetic, and you create the reality that you desire. So that's what I'm into right now.
Yes, so beautiful. Absolutely. I think, when we find a centered place, it's a place from which we can sometimes newly recognize that every new moment carries an infinite number of possibilities. And that's where that creative energy comes into play. Some people say, I'm taking my power back. I'm taking my life back. I'm taking life back into my own hands. And it's, you don't get to control the things that happen around you, the things that have happened to you. It's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to find that centered space to grow forward and create your life and create your being and your character in a way that affects the world around you and creates the world that you want to see. And we've all done that as well through the use of nutrition. And so I was looking at this book, which is the Green Food Bible. It's basically a book that talks about superfoods and the different superfoods and how they can support and assist your body in working with any of your organ systems or any of the functions of your body. And so I was looking into it, and there's kind of three main ways that respiration and nutrition can go hand in hand. And the first way is inflammation. When you have inflammation in your nasal membranes or in your lungs, you have inflammation, it's going to make it harder to breathe. That can show up like allergies. It can show up like asthma. It can show up like respiratory infections, whether they're viral or whether they're bacterial. And so when you are supporting your body's healthy inflammation response, which is your C-reactive proteins, then you are able to support your respiration. And there's, lots of documented evidence now that inflammation is supported by eating more vegetables, more fruits, if you're not vegan, more fish. And we have all kinds of products and food. I don't like to call them products. I like to call them foods, because it is just whole food supplementation that support that function. And the darker the fruit or vegetable, the way that the photosynthesis works, with the way that the light helps to create phytonutrients in the plant that you then eat is enhanced the darker it is. The reason why it appears to be dark is because it soaks in so many minerals and vitamins and phytonutrients. So it has a dark appearance. So when you have something like a dark cherry, a blueberry, a pomegranate, and there's some exciting other superfoods that we have as well, such as spirulina and astaxanthin. These are foods that have so many phytonutrients. And when you take them, it lowers your C-reactive proteins. And that's not only the inflammation in your respiratory system, but it could be in your organ system. If you have inflammation in your digestive tract, if you have inflammation, is one of the main precursors that doctors look for when they're identifying heart disease. I mean, inflammation is just, something that if it's chronic, it's good to address through nutrition. So if you have respiratory stuff, we have our dark cherry juice, which is really, really good for that. And there's some other things too. Mallory, do you have any nutrition stuff that you feel like ties into that inflammation aspect of breathing?
Yeah, honestly, like this entire lifestyle and having this food every day overall lowers my anxiety, helps me to remember to breathe. It's kind of hard for me to answer this question just picking one product, because it's really this entire lifestyle that supports me and my mind and my breathing. And I absolutely like Apothecary. I always take Apothecary. I take Joint Flex, astaxanthin. Those are all like everything you said. I second that. And yeah, let me see if I've been taking some notes just to see if I
While
remember.
you're looking, I'm just going to say when you have kind of a holistic approach to your overall well-being, it's the synergistic philosophy of how things work in your body, that it's not ever just one thing that you're looking at. Like all of the organ systems work together to create the total holistic function of your body. So when you're addressing, and you also have a synergistic system where you have something that's addressing your proteins and your gut microbiome, as well as your inflammation and the alkalinity of your body, that holistic approach to hitting all the different energy or aspects of nutrition that work together to fully support you in what you're eating. I think that's the key, right? And absolutely why we've created packs of things that work together for overall wellness. It's just such a beautiful concept. And like you said, it's the overall approach to that lifestyle.
Yeah, it's like when I live better and I choose to eat better food, my mind is more clear. I make better decisions for myself. When I'm in a place of struggle, less and less I go to food because I've been like an emotional eater for a long time. Less and less, since this food is helping my mind to be more clear. Instead of going to comfort myself with food, I remember my breath more and actually am able to work through stuff instead of just putting toxic stuff in my body or emotional eating because I can't emotionally digest something. So then we'll put something in our body to try to digest it there. But then, yeah, so this food just in general is the best. That's all.
Totally, yes. Yeah, and I think too, with the emotional eating, sometimes it can look like just eating a lot, but typically the things that we turn to when we overeat, like they say that we're the most overfed, undernourished society, is because we turn to foods that are bulky with lots of binders and fillers or processed flours. We're getting a lot of sugars, like processed sugars, like corn syrup and things like that, like in our daily bread or cereal or crackers or tortilla chips. And we don't even realize like that the bulk of what's filling us up is giving our body very little nutritional value. So when you're consuming foods with a really high potency of nutrients, you're eating less bulk, but you're not getting less. You're actually getting most likely more, and typically for less money, which is the part that it's hard, I think, for people to wrap their head around, because we're so used to going to the grocery store and going bag of chips, can of salsa, whatever, bag of apples, slab of cheese. And for that same price, you can have like 3 shakes and you're getting way more nutrients. Like that's 3 meals for the cost of what you just spent on snacks. So that part for me, just, I wanted to touch on real quick as far as the nutrient potency that you're taking in. Go ahead, Gina.
Awesome. Yeah, I completely agree with both of you, and that it's a lifestyle. And I know that whenever I really integrated the entire ultimate lifestyle transformation and the juice bar in a bag, it completely shifted my practice in my breath work. When I was postpartum, I was feeling really heavy, before Purium came into my life. Even though I was doing my best to eat organic and grass fed and all of that, I still was feeling super stagnant, super heavy, where I just didn't really feel as called to do my practice, to go be out in nature, to consciously breathe. I kind of, fell off of my practice there. And as soon as I got activated on that cellular level, it was like, you just become so clear, like Mallory said, just the clarity is there. And then it just comes naturally. It's just like so powerful. And I also wanted to suggest the cocoa hydrate, because we talk about the inflammation, and turmeric is also something that reduces inflammation. And then hydration is also key in respiratory health, keeping yourself hydrated with really clean water, and then electrolytes and minerals, and the turmeric and some of the amazing products in that, I think, also support our breath. And then also the dark leafy greens is another thing I've read that is really supportive of our respiratory system. And so, the green spectrum or our power shake, like those, all of it is so beneficial. But I think that the green spectrum is another one that is super powerful, because it has the cabbage in there. I saw that you posted something about cabbage and the spirulina and all the dark leafy greens. So this makes me even more excited just to continue, putting these superfoods in my body.
Definitely. Yep. Yeah. The leafy greens, that really hits on the other aspect too, aside from inflammation, which is the alkalinity that we have in our body. And I know we're a little bit over already, so I'm just going to kind of wrap it up. But the pH balance, when you are balancing your pH in your body, there's some really main factors in like how you're living and your lifestyle and how you're behaving that affect your pH. One of them, the most significant one, is breathing, because you're bringing in the oxygen and you're eliminating the free radicals that would cause the alkalinity to change. And so when you are breathing and you have a regular breath work practice, you're really regulating your pH. Now, we also know that we can regulate the pH through nutrition, through our diet. And so when you're doing both of those pieces together, it's like you're just like burning that candle at both ends and like hitting it from every angle. So for sure, if you are in a place in your life where you're wanting to amplify your well-being, you're just wanting to pick it up, maybe you've tried breath work and that got you so far, but you feel like you're kind of in another spot. When you were talking about how the ultimate lifestyle transformation pack really changed the way that you felt and opened up your energy, I liken it to when you first start doing yoga or you first start doing breath work, where it's like it takes you to this place that it's almost like you feel like you're coming home to your body again. You're coming home to that youth-like vitality and energy that you were used to, that when you get older, you kind of start to like lose a grip with it, where you're like, wait, what happened? I'm tired all the time and I can't, And so you start doing something like yoga or breath work and it picks you to a certain point. But when we live in a toxic environment and we're not regularly cleansing and detoxing as a way to open up the pathways that bring the nutrients into our organs, when that's blocked and you're not cleansing and detoxing in a gentle way, you do want to be careful about what you're cleansing and detoxing with, because there's lots of proven ways that are safer and more gentle, like what we have at Purium, and there's some other ways that are not so safe. So I definitely, if you're looking into doing that, want to encourage you to really know what you're getting, who you're getting it from, how it's tested, and all those things. But when you really bring that into play and you've got your pH leveled, your inflammation is leveled, it's amazing how many benefits come from that. So I just want to thank you guys, Mallory and Gina, for speaking today. So much knowledge and so many helpful tips and tricks. And thanks for coming, everybody who hopped on, and hope to see you again soon. I hope everybody has a good rest of your week. And yeah, I love you all. Have a wonderful Tuesday, and we'll see you next time.
Yay, thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.